Hello, I'm Kurt Lidke, Executive Director of Klamath Film, and you just watched Zombie Walk, a very fun, slightly twisted short film in our Northern Shorts category. With us is the film's director and co-star, Rollyn Stafford. Rollyn, good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, Kurt.
Well, you are no stranger to the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Last year, you had a terrific feature film, One Dead Dog. I can say now that last year's festival is over, was one of my absolute favorites out of our entire festival. And in fact, our sound person at the Ross Raglan still has the One Dead Dog poster hanging in her office. Uh, she even kept it in the projector a little bit longer after the festival, just so she'd go back and watch it again. That's how much she liked One Dead Dog.
Oh, you'll be very happy to hear this. Then I just finished shooting another short zombie movie about 3 weeks ago called "Zombies Like to Watch," and I told my production designer I want the Klamath Independent Film Festival One Dead Dog poster on the wall, and it's there.
Terrific.
It's in the film.
Nice
I
little
just
Easter.
I just gave you free advertising.
Right. Nice, maybe a nice little Easter egg for Klamath Independent Film Festival 2022. We'll see.
Yes.
And then the year before that, you had a feature film in called Road to Bob. And now you're back with what, if nothing else, is the most opportune film in our festival in terms of taking advantage of a very specific moment in Portland history. So how did the concept for this film come about?
It all started with the idea that I wanted to show how my city, downtown Portland specifically, had transformed since the COVID-19 outbreak and the Black Lives Matter protests. The city has never looked that way before, and I figured it might never look this way again. So I thought it was important to capture that. And what better way to do that than with a zombie movie?
Well, and then on top of that, it also coincided with a bunch of fires last year that resulted in some really interesting skies. When I watched it, my first thought was, well, maybe Rollyn could have like colorized things a little bit to kind of make feel a little bit more apocalyptic. But then I thought better of it. I'm like, why, when that's what Portland actually looked like? And this is like a little time capsule where you will never see Portland streets deserted. You'll never see them covered in graffiti like that, looking like it's Lord of the Flies. You will never. I mean, if you tried to build this as a set, the budget would be massive. But you shot this at such an unusual time that it just kind of works out.
Yeah, there is no color correction. That is no special effects. That is just what Portland looked like through that lens of the camera.
So unless we experience a real apocalypse, we're not sure if we'll ever again find downtown Portland deserted, covered in graffiti and with orange skies due to fires, all coinciding at the same time. But because of that, because it was such a finite window, and also you were getting ready to come here to Klamath for last year's festival, did you feel a lot of pressure to kind of pack that in as tight of a schedule as possible, because those circumstances may not last for very long in which to film?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The smoke from the fires was a complete happy accident. I shouldn't say happy accident. It was just a freak of nature thing. I planned to shoot on that weekend. That was the scheduling plan. Just happened to coincide with the smoke from the fires. And the night before we were supposed to go shoot, I had a Zoom meeting with 7 of my cast and crew. Said, listen, obviously your health is the most important thing. However, if we decide to go out and shoot tomorrow, it's going to look amazing on camera. And they all were, yeah, let's do it. And we did. We were able to shoot outside for 2 hours before we started getting headaches because there was no oxygen in the air. But it looked amazing. It was amazing on camera, and we shot it. We went home for 3 hours, recuperated, got our energy back, and then we came back and shot the rest of the stuff inside.
So it's very apropos in a way that your character is wearing a gas mask through much of it, because this part of the reason why the streets were so deserted and downtown was deserted, because the smoke was so bad in Portland at the time that people were told to stay indoors. Like, you weren't supposed to go outside.
We had the worst air quality in the world, according to the news. It was insane. Yeah, no one was outside, and I'm like, when are we ever going to see downtown Portland looking like this again? We have to take advantage of it. Yeah.
It reminds me of in the music world of film. When I was a music supervisor, I remember talking to a guy who worked at a post house in Dallas or Houston, and they'd had a giant tornado blow right through their building. And his first thought was, "I'm going to go up on the roof and record this, because when am I ever going to get the opportunity to get a genuine tornado sound to add to the library? Not like run for shelter or anything." I guess the filmmakers are just wired a little bit differently, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, you gotta judge, and like I said, I had a Zoom meeting with my crew the night before, and laid out the guidelines. I'm not going to force you guys to do anything, obviously, if it's a health risk to you. But I had, you know, 6 people, just 6 people who were my crew and cast, including myself. So it wasn't like we were a big crew or anything, and they were all troopers. They all, they said, yeah, why not? They were great about it, and I'm very proud of them. I really am.
I loved the simplicity of this film because it gives a certain realism to a totally ludicrous premise. Because
Mm.
you didn't change anything. There's no effects outside of the zombie makeup, and also thank you for eating the Karen. Because over the past year and a half, I think we've all been waiting for a film that showed a Karen getting what they truly deserved. And I'm not sure if there's really a question there. I just want to say thank you for having a Karen get eaten in your film, because it certainly, for the judges that I've talked to, that all kind of made them cheer a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not much for putting like a lot of political messaging in my films if I can help it. But yeah, that was a clear like, yeah, fuck you, to that sort of individual we've come across the last year. And Evelyn Gale, who was my friend and a wonderful actor, just nailed it, and she did a wonderful job. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, it's you see, there's a lot of zombie movies out there, but you don't always find yourself cheering for the zombie, and that was definitely one occasion where that.
Well, I mean, it's in simple terms, the movie is about a guy and his like pet, just
Right.
walking. You're not going to hate the pet. It's just instead of a dog this time, it happens to be a zombie. So I think a lot of people like the zombie because they can relate to that while walking with your dog. You're not going to take the other person's side over your little cute dog, are you? Probably not. Yeah.
Well, the makeup for your pet zombie in this film, I thought was really well done. Like I said, I like the way that you didn't change anything. This is what downtown Portland actually looked like, but the makeup was really solid. I know you're no stranger to movie blood and whatnot after One Dead Dog last year, but I was impressed nonetheless. So, what's the backstory behind the whole zombie costume? Did you just happen to have some zombie gear and let's throw this in, or?
All the credit goes to Zachary Smith, who was my makeup artist and who also played the zombie. The idea was for COVID safety, I was hoping to find a makeup artist who could just do his own makeup, and so for safety reasons, and he basically did. And he's been a makeup artist I was supposed to work for with One Dead Dog. Actually, he was going to be on that set for a little bit, and he had other obligations. But we met up later, and I said, "Can you do this?" Like, hell yeah! Just buy me some like prosthetics online, and I'll do the rest. And he put in those wonderful black contact lenses. I mean, he was very dedicated, and those wonderful dentures. Poor guy. I mean, once he put that on, he couldn't take it off to eat lunch. Afterwards, it wasn't like he could reapply it in time. So he went like for 6 or 7 hours without eating anything. And he honestly couldn't see out of those black contacts. He had an assistant help him like move along, or I was helping him move along through the streets of downtown. But he was great, and he also plays the zombie in my next zombie short I just shot. Zombies Like to Watch, which he did not do the makeup for. We got our makeup artist from One Dead Dog to come back and do the makeup on him. So we're all good friends now. Yeah.
Terrific. So sounds like Zach just suffered for the craft, because everyone could barely breathe, and then on top of that, he can't see and he can't talk and he can't eat.
He had a bunch of great ideas too. He wanted to wear a cowboy hat too with it, and I was like, no, that would take away from the overall film. I felt too gimmicky. But yes, he suffered through it. He got up at 4 a.m., started putting on his makeup, and was there at 8 a.m. sharp in downtown with the smoke and everything. No, he never complained. He was a trooper, and he's a very good monster actor. I thought his movements and his voice, the sounds he made, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this film has already been making the rounds somewhat at several festivals. So what has the reaction been for it?
It's interesting, especially the ones in Oregon. People have laughed at certain moments, but honestly, I get more of an emotional reaction from Oregonians, which I guess doesn't surprise me because they come up to me and go, "Oh my God, I remember last year during that time how awful it was." Uh, it just showed at the Portland Horror Film Festival 2 nights ago, and that was the reaction I got from most people. It actually opened the whole festival, and the creator of the festival was like, "Oh, yeah, I remember. I couldn't believe last time it really got to me. Like, this was the film we definitely have to open the festival with because it's an important part of, I guess, Portland history. I guess now in a way."
You know, it
Um,
it it
yeah,
is it is interesting because COVID last year especially, the entire country and really the entire world went through this weird phase where we were just trying to figure out what can we actually do from home. Suddenly, everyone was making sourdough or learning to knit or whatever, and you figured out a way to film, which I'm sure something like this is already a little bit difficult to shoot considering the circumstances. But then on top of that, there's all of the added COVID restrictions, and no one was supposed to be outside to begin with because of the air quality. So how difficult was this film to make?
I mean, despite the air quality, honestly, it wasn't that difficult. We shot the whole thing in a day. And again, it was a very small crew, 6-person crew, and I trusted them all. I worked with them all before, and we shot it all guerrilla style. We didn't have permission to be anywhere there in downtown.
Well, it's
Um,
not like anyone was actually going to be out there. So
yeah, but we there were certain times though, like when we shot next, there was the police station with the graffiti, and in September at that time, we weren't exactly on the best terms with the cops. Probably still aren't, and some people aren't. But I told my crew, listen, when we shoot by here, if the cops come out, you just send them to me. Don't talk to them. I will do all the talking. Luckily, nothing happened. We were able to shoot past that, and no one bothered us. We did have a couple houseless people approach Zach when he was in full makeup and not quite mentally there, but they're like, "I'm one of you. I'm one of you." And Zach was such a nice guy and gave the guy a hug, and just, "I got you, buddy. I got you," and then moving on. They did their thing. But
well,
all the I was saying all
at,
the
at
houseless people. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, the police at that point, they'd gone through a couple of months of nightly protests and all that. At this point, they probably just looked at the window like, yeah, zombies, sure, why not?
I hope that's what they were thinking. Why not zombie? Why not? Yeah.
So, what do you hope that people take away from this film? I certainly get the humor in it, the dark twisted humor that also One Dead Dog had, and I felt like this was like a nice little piece of candy. Like we went through such a serious time, and we're still going through it, and I fully expected that we would get some COVID related films. But you were actually the very first person to submit a film for this year's festival. You were right in line as soon as we opened up submissions. And it was so refreshing to see, like, okay, here's something that's about COVID, but it's not about, like, how did I mentally cope with a year of trying to bake sourdough? It's like, okay, let's figure out how to still have some fun amidst all of this. So, what do you hope people take away from it?
Um, that you can just go out and make a movie if you have the right conditions, I guess, if you have the guts and if you really want to do it. When COVID started, so many of us were making short films, but they were all the same thing. It was always two people in an apartment talking. And there's nothing wrong with those films. There's some really good ones, but everyone was doing it. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different. And I knew, like I said, that Portland would never look the same after this. And I am very, very proud that I shot this when I did, because almost all of the sculptures and artwork you see in Zombie Walk is not there anymore. All the graffiti is gone. The nightmare elk you see was stolen by Proud Boys. The Abraham Lincoln statue you see was taken down by protesters. I am very happy I was able to capture something that probably won't be captured again. And I hope people look at this film as, oh yeah, we did live through that. And we're okay. We're still okay. We still can find the humor in making movies with zombies, because zombies make all movies better.
So this film, even though it was just a one-day shoot, there had to have been a couple of bloopers or things that didn't make the final cut or whatnot. Anything stand out?
Um, I shot a few extras, just like sort of watching us walk around a bit. Like I said, the houseless individuals we filmed were actually houseless. Those aren't actors. I had to get their permission, especially that wonderful, nice profile shot you see of the guy smoking a cigarette. That was just some guy on the street that I approached on the day and said, "Do you want to be in this movie?" And he said, "Yeah, if I get a close up, like, you got it, man. Can you take a drag of your cigarette and watch us walk?" He's like, "Yeah." And he was a pro. It's one of my favorite shots in the movie, just him watching as a slow burn of a cigarette. He looks fantastic. And no one believes me when he says that he's a houseless person, and he was. He was just, that was it. That was just him.
I thought that shot was so ironic too, because knowing the time in which you shot it, when the air quality is so poor, like, why is he smoking a cigarette when basically the entire air around him is the equivalent of smoking a cigarette?
That was all him. He was smoking. I would just like, "You take a drag of your cigarette," and he was like, "Yeah, sure." In terms of bloopers, though, I mean, I suppose, I mean, that the arm that you see at the end was really, really gross, and I did end up dropping it a couple times. I think it was a leftover prop Zach had stolen from another shoot he did. It looks great, but it was gross, and I was like, "Oh, I was probably getting blood on certain places I shouldn't have gotten dry blood on." I'm like I said, Zach could not see out of those damn contact lenses, so he was stumbling a lot when he didn't have someone to lead him. But that was it. It was a great shoot all around. We all had a fantastic time. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Roland, so much for once again being a part of the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Zombie Walk will screen on Sunday, September 19th at 4:45 p.m. at the Ross Ragland in our Northern Shorts category, and it will be available all week on demand. Roland, always good to talk to you, sir, and we look forward to seeing you here in Klamath.
I'll be there.